The realm of professional auto racing, especially within the adrenaline-fueled circuits of NASCAR, is no stranger to high-octane clashes and the roar of engines competing for glory. However, the recent NASCAR Truck Series final was not just another tale of speed and triumph. It turned into a spectacle of controversy, straying far from the celebrated precision and professionalism expected at this level of racing. Stay tuned to NASCAR Zone, because this one is going to be crazy. But before we move further, hit that subscribe button. The event, intended to be a culmination of skill and strategy, devolved into a demolition derby, raising dust and debate in equal measure. Star drivers took to the media, their voices tinged with frustration and concern. It was clear that the night's proceedings had struck a nerve, transforming the track from a stage of competition to a theater of chaos. Martin Truex Jr. emerged as a leading critic, his disappointment palpable.
I was not impressed. That is not professional auto racing. It's a joke. They need to fix it. Stop running through people every day and every race. I mean, you got racing a guy for a championship. You don't just clean him out, 50 laps, 60 laps to go in the race. A guy runs you down and passes you, and then you run into him once, and then the next corner you spin him out. I don't quite understand that one. So, but in general, the restarts and a couple of the things that happened were circumstances like guys missing shifts, whatever. But for the most part, those guys race like a bunch of kids that never had to pay for anything or fix anything that they ever drove in their entire life, and that's not the way you're supposed to drive as a professional.
Truex's sentiment was echoed by his peers, with Denny Hamlin providing a stark analogy, likening the race to a football game devoid of rules, a no-holds-barred brawl that left sportsmanship sidelined.
What did you make of the truck race last night?
That was a mess. Y'all saw it. It was terrible. Certainly, when you have a one race, if you win, you're in. It creates those atmospheres as well, which I think was intended. But certainly, the drivers are taking it, a bit far now. I saw some, kind of correlations to people are saying like taking all the rules out of football, where you can hold, you can do whatever you want to do. Like it's just gotten a little out of hand. But it's, the drivers are doing it. NASCAR's not doing it. But sometimes you have to adapt to what you're seeing out there. And certainly if you deem that it's not pushing our sport forward, I think you should do something about it. And I don't think last night pushed our sport forward. Yeah, I'm on a soapbox right now, but I hate seeing our sport look as bad as it did last night. And for hard-pressed to find anybody that would agree that was a good look. As you've seen, it's just, that was a joke as well.
The significance of these opinions from such high-caliber drivers cannot be understated. When figures of their stature speak out, it's a flashing signal that the sport they dedicate their lives to may be veering off course. It raises an alarm not just for the drivers and their teams, but for the fans, the sponsors, and the stewards of racing. This collective outcry shone a glaring spotlight on the night's events, prompting a pressing question. Is this the thrill of racing that fans crave, or has a line been crossed into reckless entertainment? The consensus among the pros suggests the latter. The crescendo of the NASCAR Truck Series final reached a discordant peak with the incident between Carson Hocevar and Cory Heim, an episode that would dramatically alter the course of the championship. It was a moment that encapsulated the very essence of the controversy, the fine line between aggressive competition and what many saw as an unforgivable breach of racing etiquette. Hocevar, in a move that teetered on the aggressive brink of racing tactics, collided with Heim, sending reverberations not only through the steely chassis of their trucks, but through the standings of the championship itself. Heim's aspirations for the title were dashed in an instant, his vehicle's wreckage a stark metaphor for his shattered championship dreams.
I just got cleaned out. I passed him clean, and then he hit me 2 or 3 times, and then finally he had enough fun, just kind of hit me, and then he wrecked me. So it is what it is. Every guy on Sunday is going to see that and understand that they're going to be racing against him like that, and I'm not too worried about it. I don't got to race him anymore, so I don't have to deal with it too much. But just kind of expected. He's been racing me like that since he was 5 years old. I raced with him in quarter midgets, so it's just part of championship racing.
Among the fans and the public, the crash ignited a firestorm of debate. Social media platforms became arenas of heated discussion, with supporters defending the rough-and-tumble nature of racing against those who decried the incident as a step too far. In the microcosm of this one incident were the echoes of a larger narrative. a narrative about what NASCAR represents as a sport and what it might become if such incidents were left unchecked or even tacitly encouraged. Kyle Busch, a luminary on the track and a recent former team owner, contributed a unique dual perspective to the dialogue. His recent exit from team ownership was telling, indicative of the growing exasperation felt by those who have a stake in the sport's future.
Yeah, I mean, there's aggressive racing. You know, you're 3 wide, 4 wide, 5 wide sometimes, and it's hard for the spotters to see going into turn 1 where everybody is. But as a driver, you have to know your surroundings and understand what you're doing and where you're at. So just a lot of mistakes, a lot of dumb stuff. Tore up one of ours. So, just I don't know. It's the nature of what everything is nowadays. You know, we're teaching kids at 8 years old to go out there and run wide open and go as fast as you can and slam into the guy next to you to try to get by him. So they're all taught that way now, where there's no repercussions as much, and the sanctioning body, I think, needs to step in more and penalize.
The driver's discontent pointed to a need for a cultural shift within the racing community, one that values respect and discipline just as much as speed and victory. The ripple effect on NASCAR's image. Before we get into that, if you are still not subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button and be a part of the NASCAR Zone family. The brunt of the controversy affects NASCAR's rapport with its fan base and its attractiveness to sponsors. Such events can act as a double-edged sword. They might temporarily boost viewer numbers due to the spectacle of the drama, but they can also chip away at the sport's credibility. Devoted fans might feel alienated by a perceived departure from NASCAR's core values of fair competition and sportsmanship, while sponsors may be wary of associating their brands with a sport mired in controversy. The role of penalties and regulations. In response to the growing disquiet, there's a clarion call for the introduction of new penalties or the stricter enforcement of existing regulations to rein in aggressive driving. However, implementing these changes is a delicate task. NASCAR must navigate the tightrope between maintaining the sport's inherent excitement and ensuring a competitive environment that upholds the highest standards of professionalism. To achieve this, they could consider a variety of approaches, from points deductions and financial penalties to mandatory driver education programs and the potential for race bans in extreme cases. Drivers like Truex Jr. and Hamlin, among others, offer a poignant perspective on how NASCAR might refine its regulations to enhance race conduct. Contrast with NASCAR Cup Series standards. While the Cup Series is not without its moments of contention, there is a palpable difference in the level of racing conduct and mutual respect among its drivers, a benchmark that the lower series seem to struggle to maintain.
Why doesn't something like that happen in Cup form? Because we were just talking about it today last week in the truck last night. Is it just because Cup drivers have that understanding?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't think everyone does, but I think it's gotten, I'd say it's still rougher than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but yeah, I think these cars are different for sure. And, I think as you run, 38 races with the same guys every week, you understand that doing those kind of things are not beneficial in the long run. And, they end up hurting you in the long run. So you kind of stop doing them and figure it out. At least that's the way I feel about it.
And that's all for this video. Hit that subscribe button.